Oh, I know I'm gonna dream.
Yeah.
It's all in the throat.
Yeah.
Dream about.
Doesn't he remember the consonants?
We should do all the song in vowels. Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 81 of CONSERVATISH. My name is Peter Feliciano, and you can support this podcast at patreon.com/conservatish. There's a new episode every Monday and Thursday. And find me on Instagram at Peter_Feliciano. No, I'm not gonna. And you can find our beloved guest Jefferson Bergey.
Hello.
At where? At Jefferson Bergey on Instagram.
Your mom's house in the bushes.
All right. Well, bye everybody.
Good night. JeffersonBergey.com on the Facebooks, and those are the places. I need to get better about Instagram.
I know. Every time
you know what?
The social medias need to hear about you, sir.
Dixie was giving me ideas about she was
Wentworth.
Dixie De La Tour of Body Storytelling.
Yes,
was telling me about this company, this like startup where you can have like a social media intern for like $50 a month who like posts for you and does all that stuff.
Really?
And I'm like, well, I mean, it makes sense because,
right.
but like the thing that makes me nervous about that is like the tone, like
right.
The way that we write and the way we like share things, like.
Right.
I think that if somebody else was posting for me, it would come off like a promoted tweet, like, check this out, coming up on blah, 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 blah.
Right.
It would seem very empty to me.
Right.
So.
Well, yeah, to get someone who knows your exact language, you'd have to pay more than $50 a month.
I know.
You'd have to have like an intern who you pay a lot more than that, and then they'll know you and follow you around, get to know your humor.
Yeah, but then also like there's all the time going into like training that person on all that. It just seems like it would be more trouble than it's worth.
Right.
I don't know. I just need to start posting pictures.
We're not famous as we should be yet. That's all. Oh, by the way.
What?
Guess what?
What?
You're all going to be coming to June 7th, RBA Creative in Oakland. Mm-hmm. That's right. Peter Feliciano is deigning, is debasing himself to perform in Oakland this one motherfucking time.
Mm-hmm. So
you better come out because both Jefferson Bergey and I are going to be playing music for hours, and it's going to be amazing.
It's a very intimate thing. There's only some tickets left for that.
But the whole show is 30 seats only, so you better get a fucking ticket now.
It's going to be interactive. There's going to be snacks.
Yes.
And there's going to be filthy, inappropriate songs.
Yes. And we even mentioned that we're both going to do a slow ballady type of song.
We are.
Somewhere in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be live video recorded for the and audio recorded for the podcast. So you guys are going to get to, maybe not the whole thing, but snippets of it. But there's just nothing like being in person. Plus you'll get to if you are a fan of this podcast and you wanted to find a place to kill me, because you're a super fan like John Lennon, or you really hate me, like Ronald Reagan, I guess.
Show up with your copies of Catcher in the Rye and
wait, what is that reference to?
So, Mark Davis Chapman, the guy who killed John Lennon.
Yeah.
That was his whole thing. That John Lennon was a phony, and he's basically blamed the Catcher in the Rye on motivating him to take out John Lennon for being a phony.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I kind of agree with that.
No, what's even crazier about that is Mark Davis Chapman. I remember hearing the story, and it's crazy. He was in Hawaii, and I think he tried to kill himself.
Okay.
Like he tried to drown himself or something. Like
that's got to be hard to do.
I know. And this Hawaiian fisherman saw him and saved him, like pulled him out of the water and saved his life.
Right.
Which then put in motion Mark Davis Chapman killing John Lennon.
Right.
So if that fucking Fisher dude didn't save Mark Davis Chapman,
goddamn Hawaiians,
we would have had snarky, bitter John Lennon still around.
Okay, so here's one of the things. As much as I love the Beatles, we may or may not have talked about this, but I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round is the exact same song as Imagine. It's the exact same chord structure and everything. I understand it's maybe a different pace, but it's the exact same it's the same song. So how does a musical genius, as musically geniusity as he was, not catch that?
Well, was he a musical genius, or was he just a really loud asshole? Because don't get me wrong. I mean,
so you're on board. You're on the same page as I am.
I'm a Paul McCartney guy.
Thank you.
I'm a Paul McCartney guy. Paul McCartney. While John Lennon was like,
important,
very important. He was very loud about things.
Right.
But as I guess important or influential as he was, Paul McCartney was like creating way more stuff. Like busy creating way more stuff.
Right.
Like didn't have time for all that like
politics stuff.
Like, and
I feel like maybe John was just enough anger to add some more interestingness to Paul, because without John, we would have just Wings type of things. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Which Wings had some good songs, but without the two of them together, you just got Paul. Kind of, although musically fun and interesting, was kind of like, what? Someone's knocking on the door. I love that fucking song, but that song it means nothing. And then John, where it's just like, I see John as similar to a Bob Dylan character, where it's just like poetry. I guess put some chords to it. I don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like where it's not really like music.
Well, and also, can you imagine if Paul McCartney put out an album like Double Fantasy, where it'd be one of his songs and then Linda singing a song, and then one of his songs and then Linda singing a song?
Oh God. I heard she was just as bad as Yoko.
I mean, here's the thing. Paul pushed her to be on stage. Like, Paul wanted her up there. Whether she was really contributing that much or not, he wanted her up there.
Right.
There's a classic, but she wasn't really musically. There was a classic bit that actually Howard Stern played in the late. Do you remember this? It's like the late '80s, early '90s, where a sound guy had the sound guy in like Madison Square Garden like isolated Linda's backup vocals
on Hey Jude.
Oh boy. Holy.
Like
it was bad.
And Yoko was worse though, but I think intentionally almost. She was
Dude, that's why I love that Bill Burr
jam.
thing. Have you seen that Bill Burr like breakdown of when John Lennon and Chuck Berry were able to play together?
No.
Oh, dude. Your podcast listeners will enjoy that as well. Just Google Bill Burr, John Lennon, Chuck Berry, and Bill Burr, being as fucking hilarious as he is, does this whole rundown about I can't remember whose television, like Mike Douglas. I think it was the Mike Douglas show in like the early 70s. John Lennon had this opportunity to perform with Chuck Berry.
Right.
And of course, during this time, Yoko and him were inseparable. So if John was performing, Yoko's performing too. Right. So Yoko has this little like drum that she's like beating on. And John and Chuck are playing together,
Right.
And Yoko keeps grabbing the mic and screaming into the mic. And Bill Burr, I'm not going to step on it, but Bill Burr talks about the moment that Chuck Berry sees this happen and like looks at Yoko and then like looks at John, like, what the fuck is this?
Is it pussy-blindness? Is that what it is? Is it like snow blindness where you just... Was she that good? Maybe Yoko was like that good at dick sucking or something where like, he just was just like completely bowled over or something. I don't know. Like I couldn't... I've been with people who like, or even friends who like, you like them as people, but you're not necessarily a fan of their music or what they create or whatever. So like, if you do create with them,
I have like 30 friends like that in the Bay Area.
Right. And here are their names. Where like you want to help them, you want to support them, but you don't feel like a fan. You don't feel like, okay, if we do a show, I'm not going to go, I'm not going to. Like, with some people, like I do shows with them and I'm like, I fucking really, I'm grateful to not only just be a peer of them, but also be a fan of them. Yeah. But like to not even unapologetically just hoist her out there into the spotlight is something's wrong, man. Something's wrong there. Maybe like she knew like a secret murder that he was a part of and like held him hostage.
Right. Like, don't forget.
You better let me scream.
I always know. Like, she knew what he did last time.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know, man. I've gotten into arguments with people all the time about the Yoko thing, and because I'm such a Beatles nerd. Like, I used to be able to give you, I could talk to people for 25 minutes about all the Paul is dead theory stuff. Like, we could pull out all my LPs, and I'll point out all of the clues. Of course,
you see the video? Or there was a movie, right? There was a documentary.
Oh, about... I haven't seen it.
Okay.
But I've read... This is like high school. This is like 20-some years ago. I was reading books about this stuff.
Okay.
Just because it was a fascination. Not because I believed it.
Right.
Or I thought that Paul was dead
Actually
and somebody
dead,
else was replaced him, which is fucking horse shit.
Right.
But it's fun.
Right.
It's fun to see all the clues and link them all together and whatnot. And the whole thing with Yoko during that time... Well, this is the thing that I always point out to people who may not have heard the story, but when she was pregnant with, I guess that would have been Sean. When she was pregnant with Sean, the doctor ordered her to be on bed rest. Well, the Beatles were recording the White Album during this time. So John arranged for a bed to be put in the studio so that Yoko could be there while they recorded the entire time. On top of that, not only was she in a bed right there in the studio, they hung a microphone right in front of her face.
Oh, Jesus.
In case she wanted to participate. Let that idea breathe for a second. And if you're the other three Beatles... Right?
It's not Yoko's fault. It's John's fault. Mm-hmm. John was a fucking... And I love... That's one of my favorite things is like anytime a bunch of people really love someone or really believe something, I immediately rebelliously take the other tack. And one of the things I did is I dug a little bit on how shitty of a person John Lennon was.
He was a complete hypocrite.
He was an asshole. And we all are assholes at different times in our life. We all get a little relationshiply abusive. But like he was straight up abusive to his first wife.
Really bad.
And neglectant of his first son. And
I heard a story the other day. Who was I listening to the story? Who was telling the story? It was on a different podcast I was listening to about when John died and Yoko reached out to Julian, or Julian reached out to her probably, and was like, "Can I have some of my dad's stuff?"
Right.
And she's like, "Sure, come on over." And he came over to their place, and she's like, "Take any guitar you want." And he goes, "Oh," and grabs a guitar, and she goes, "No, not that one. Not that one. But any other one." It's like, really?
Right.
Really? Right. Yeah, I mean, listen.
What was the story that I remember watching it a couple of times, but I completely lost on me? Is Zappa doing a live show with John and Yoko? Oh, and he tells the story of something shitty happening where, like, I guess they recorded it. They recorded it, and then he listens back, and it's awful. But like, John completely like did something either without asking Frank or specifically not listening to a request of Frank's, and just went ahead with a certain version of the recording. I can't remember.
I've never heard anything about Frank and John Lennon doing anything together. I need to know what that was.
Yes, because that's one of those things where like Zappa, Frank, like I've done that before. Where like, okay, I'm not necessarily a fan, but I'm a peer, and like. I join the stage with whoever. Sometimes I have these opinions about certain artists, and then they do a podcast episode with somebody who I don't like, or they do a show or an album with somebody, and I'm like, okay, all right. I guess maybe they lower their judgmentalness. You know what I mean? And maybe I'm not as good at that.
That's huge in my world. That's huge in my world. I'll give you a perfect example of that. Josh Groban.
Right.
Do you have any opinion about Josh Groban?
I can't listen to his music.
Why would you? I'm sure everyone's mom loves Josh Groban for a number of reasons. I've had to sing his songs at weddings.
Really?
God.
No.
Oh God.
God.
You lift me up.
Fuck you.
All that stuff. Super schmaltzy. All that.
John
stuff.
Tesh. It's Teshish.
But think of it this way. Yeah, I had this opinion about Josh Groban's music. Right. I'm like, okay, this isn't for me. It's kind of whatever. Then he was. Remember the whole "I'm fucking Matt Damon" thing with Jimmy Kimmel? One of the things they did when they were going back and forth and making those videos and those songs Josh Groban appears in one of them,
right,
singing about I fucked Matt Damon, and I
right.
saw that and I laughed my ass off,
right.
and I'm like, Josh Groban just got huge points in my world,
right? But not musically,
but like as like a person, and
he was also on Tim and Eric.
Amazing. See, that goes so far with me,
right?
Because that shows that like you're not taking yourself so seriously,
right,
that you're willing to step out of your like what your demographic would appreciate or like,
right.
and do something different. You know, John Mayer being on Dave Chappelle.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, this guy's funny, you know?
Let's dissect. Well, two things. Number one, Amy Mann is a bad example of that. I don't know why all these comedians adore that fucking chick.
Yeah, Jonathan Colton like tours with her all the time.
But like her song was in Magnolia,
right?
And so like a bunch of like comedians really like Portlandia. She was like. And it's really just that one song, "Save Me." Like she's not good. Like I don't understand why everyone's sucking her dick. I don't understand.
Well, I don't know. I've never really put that much thought into Amy Mann before. I mean, she always kind of struck me as like decent, as you know.
Sure. Okay.
She's married to Michael Penn, right?
Who's Michael Penn?
Michael Penn's a really great songwriter. I think he did Romeo in Black Jeans. Do you remember that song?
Mm-mm.
That's
well, okay. So, let me be fair. I haven't heard that much of hers. Okay, but so maybe I'm not saying she sucks. It's
not for you.
It's similar to like a Bob Marley thing. Like I like Bob Marley's music, but because so many people suck his dick that are boring kind of trustafarians, that makes me anti Bob Marley.
I mean, you want to talk about hypocrites? Bob Marley, man. Dude, Bob Marley's like, everything is Jah, everything is from the earth, everything is Irie. What? I have cancer? Get me to the best doctor in the world.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
There's also another example of that is, oh God damn it! You just said something. What did you say right before then? You
John Mayer.
John Mayer. John Mayer.
This is gonna be good.
This is one of those opinions that I hate about myself. I kind of like his fucking music. I'm sorry.
Hey.
I'm sorry.
Hey. I do too.
Oh,
here's the thing.
He can write a song. Dude.
Here's the thing.
Piece of shit can write a song.
Here's the thing, man. You have to. John Mayer is first and foremost an incredible guitar player.
Okay.
Incredible guitar player. Okay. Second of all, he's a great songwriter.
He is.
His music is not for everyone, but he writes sophisticated, musically sophisticated songs.
And it's hard to write a pop song that's also good.
Right.
You know?
So I have the utmost respect for John Mayer because I think he's incredibly talented. I think he's going to have a long-term an amazing career. He's already fucked himself over a few times, though. Like, do you remember the whole thing with the Playboy interview? So he gave this Playboy interview about 10 years ago that like derailed his career, and he had to hide for like a long time. He moved to Montana and like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. So he gave this Playboy interview where he's talking about how he had never had sex with an African-American woman. He's like, I don't know, maybe my dick's a white supremacist. I don't know. Like as a joke.
Right.
Of course, everyone took that the wrong way. He mentioned Jessica Simpson, who he had been dating before this interview happened, and he called her sexual napalm.
I remember that. Okay. All right.
People were so angry with him, he had to like completely go away for a while. And
right. Now, could he possibly be wrong? I mean, a chick that pretty who gets that famous that young, could she be any like down? Could she really be down, Jessica Simpson?
Well, I mean, maybe she could be if she's fucking John Mayer. You know?
If I was John Mayer, I would try everything once and then and then judge accordingly.
He said all sorts of crazy shit in that interview. He was talking about his addiction to porn and said that he sees 1,000 vaginas before he gets out of bed in the morning. Like,
right, so he's being obviously
funny though.
Yeah.
Like he's actually really funny. Like, do you remember when do you remember the picture of him wearing the Borat bathing suit on?
No, but I remember even he didn't have a show, or he had like on MTV back in the day. Like he went around this stadium that they were doing either for his show or for someone else's.
Like a man on the street kind of thing?
Like a man on the street, but he was wearing a giant like kangaroo outfit or a bear. He was wearing they didn't know it was John Mayer, so he was going around and talking to people who were tailgating.
He's funny.
That's fucking funny.
I heard him tell some jokes at one point. He was doing an acoustic show and he's talking about how he thinks that how he hates doing laundry, but it just gets to a point where you have to. And he goes, I think everyone should have a jumpsuit. Everyone should have their own jumpsuit, and on the back of that jumpsuit, it just says Laundry Day on it. So that when you're doing your laundry, everyone's wearing their Laundry Day jumpsuit, and everyone's cool.
Right.
And he's a quirky, funny dude. Mm-hmm. Now, I have to also, full disclosure.
Okay.
I'm going to be seeing John Mayer in concert tomorrow night.
God.
It's not a John Mayer show. I'm going to see Dead and Company tomorrow night.
Oh, that's even worse.
So I'm going to see the old guys do their dirgy Dead stuff.
You're the devil.
I
did start reading your book. I did start reading that book you recommended. I think I got through the first chapter.
The Artist's Way?
No. The You Don't Know Me, But You Don't Like Me.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't like the guy's face, but other than that.
The guy who wrote the book?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just don't like his face. Maybe we look similar.
Did he describe it in words in the book, or
no,
just been staring at the back of it?
He said something about like appreciating his white privilege or something, and I was just, I gotta see this cocksucker's face, and I was like, yeah, I'm right. I was right with my judgment of how he looked. But it's still an interesting thing, and I'll keep reading it. I'll keep reading it.
The reason I bring the fact that I'm seeing tomorrow, I'm going with one of my oldest and best friends. He was like, dude, we gotta go see the Dead, and I'm like, I don't want. He's like, we gotta go. I'm like, I don't want. He's like, I bought you a ticket. I'm like, okay, I'll go.
Right. That changes things.
Yeah, it did. But so John Mayer has been playing as doing the Jerry Garcia stuff for Dead and Company for like 4 or 5 years now.
Okay.
And he's basically revived that whole thing.
Okay.
He's done his homework, and he sounds incredible.
Okay.
So
does Hornsby ever come out?
Hornsby only did the Fare Thee Well shows.
Okay.
Jeff Chimenti, I think his name, is their keyboard player.
Okay.
So he's takes care of all that. That was just like a one-off thing for those 4 Fare Thee Well shows, when Trey Anastasio was playing guitar and Phil Lesh was still playing bass.
But Hornsby used to play with them like back in the 80s, I think.
Yeah,
80s, 90s, no?
I think in the early 90s he did a run of shows with them.
Okay.
I think that was when one of their Vince, what was that guy's name? The guy that committed suicide. One of the keyboard players from the Dead. I think that's when Bruce jumped in and just kind of filled up some of that.
But he never wrote with them.
No.
I remember because there is a song, there is even on a double live. I fucking adore Bruce Hornsby. Yeah. And his band. Have you ever seen his live band?
Yeah, I'm sure they're killer.
They're fucking incredible. Yeah. There was a PBS show where literally, I mean, yeah, I'd grown up with Hornsby, but like when I saw that, I literally had to stop myself and just watch, like, not just the command of like, no, just the enthusiasm and the love, but these are all guys in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and they're just like sharp and on board and loving it. They're not mailing it in fucking at all. And Hornsby had he did a cover of "Lady with the Fan" on on a double live.
I love that song. I've covered that song multiple times. That's one of the most important. The whole Terrapin Station suite is like one of the most lauded. Well, it is an album, but "Lady with the Fan" is the first section of like a 16-minute song. Where there's like multiple movements in it. And there's strings and crazy drum stuff and space, and it's really cool. It's one of the things that really turned me on the Dead 25 years ago or whatever. Right. But that's the thing, man. Like I'm a jam band guy. We've talked about my Fish addiction and all that, and I feel like it's just kind of like, all right, I'll go see this.
Right.
Like I'll go to this. This will be fun. There'll be a handful of songs that I'll enjoy. I'll be really stoned.
Right.
There you go.
Camaraderie with your friends.
Yeah, I'll see my buddy who is now a chef and has a wife and kid and all that, and I don't get to see him that much. So it's I'm not working that night, so it works out for everybody.
Is it also similar to the thing, because I read in the book that they have that giant fish, like aquarium, not aquarium, but like there's just all these tents and food trucks and all the selling all kinds of wares and drugs and whatever. Same thing goes for
that originated with the Grateful Dead.
Right, but does it still happen?
You ever heard the term Shakedown Street?
Yes.
So Shakedown Street is where it all goes down. Shakedown Street is what they're referring to as basically that lot scene where everyone's selling their wares, selling who knows what,
right.
but also there's, especially with the dead, there's a huge contingency of people who made their living off of, selling merch and jewelry and food on tour with the dead. They just made their life doing that, and that kind of culture jumped to the Phish culture as well. So yeah, that's a huge part of all those shows. So I'm sure tomorrow it's at Shoreline, and Shoreline's
got a big parking lot.
Got a big ass parking lot.
It'd be hard to do it at fucking ballroom, Regency Ballroom or something like that.
Well, I mean, you don't even see it at Bill Graham when Phish plays there.
Really?
Well, I mean, because what's at Bill Graham? There's the lot right across the street. Okay. Or there's the grass across the street, but there's no place for designated vendors to happen. But most of the outdoor sheds and big places the dead would play, there were designated areas where you could sell your shit.
Wow. Okay.
Which also meant places to find acid.
Right.
And whatnot.
And hot dogs and jewelry. Acid and hot dogs and jewelry.
You might find a bedazzled hot dog dipped in acid.
Right.
If you're really unfortunate.
Right. The high will come down when these rubies come out of your asshole. Which is probably that's got to be a great sentence. I love taking sentences out of context. That's a great sentence.
George Carlin
will come down when the rubies come out of your asshole.
George Carlin would be very proud of that sentence. It's never been said before.
I remember reading Brain Droppings and listening to a bunch of George long time, like when I was 12 or 13 and 14 and 15, that was really influential to me. I think that's part of the reason why I'm such a kind of ornery, whatever, is because I listened to a bunch of rebellious douchebags.
Because George is one of the guys that taught you critical thinking.
Yeah. George, Frank, those guys who just always kind of looking askance at the world, or and especially things like when I'm trying to be preached at, or I have a nose for it, sometimes too much of a nose for it. When someone's not trying to preach at me, I still am
that is part of the George Carlin
angry cat. You know?
That's part of the George Carlin canon, or where he talks about the kind of people that you meet. You remember that bit where he talks about there's a person that you meet that you say, this person sounds fairly intelligent. They're full of shit.
Right.
It's that thing.
Right. Yeah, it's served me well in my career, if I have one. See you June 7th, kids. But it also it's not served me very well sometimes in my relationships. It's been good. It's been good to have that. I'm not easily bowled over, but sometimes that I got an email from an ex a few days ago that was like,
why your ex is sending you emails?
Well, because sometimes they process things that they go through years later, and they're like, you know what? Let's talk about these things. Not an angry email, but just to talk about some things that happened in our relationship and kind of
that needed to be reconciled after years later.
Yeah, a little bit in order to salvage some sort of a friendship and things.
Okay, I can respect that.
Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, I did do that. I did.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's
she had some valid points.
That's
not
different.
Some not so other ones, but definitely some valid points. But yeah, it's although one of the things that this person talked about was the idea of being afraid of listening to this podcast because she doesn't want to listen to something that espouses or supports some of the general ideas that she has and that she and I had kind of talked a lot about. And I don't have, I mean, sure, I have some of those still, but I don't have the misconceptions about this fucking podcast from people who don't even know, or from people who know and love me, is one of the strangest fucking things. I know I've talked about it a lot.
It's called CONSERVATISH.
I know, but I don't. Some episodes I don't talk about politics at all.
Not when you're with me.
I know. I just want to mouth off, and I just want to talk about music and comedy and fucking and sometimes politics.
Yeah.
I just don't want to. I know I branded it a certain way, but even I don't know. it's just frustrating. We were talking about it before starting the podcast, but like that it can get a little fucking jading. You know what I mean? Doing the stuff we are doing. You know what I mean? And trying to do this life that we're doing. And hitting amazing, out of nowhere, I'll get a message from a fan, or I'll get a message from a friend, or someone who's like, man, or they'll tag me and share an episode I didn't even expect it, or they'll join my Patreon or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. I'm on the right track, momentum, right? But then it's just like sometimes it's just dead out there, and I'm like, am I even doing the right thing? Yeah. So
you have to remember that we, as human beings, as a creature. We've never been so inundated with information before as we are right now. Right. And, I remember seeing some sort of graphic about how people over 30 are not interested in any new music anymore. Like you get to a certain point where like your taste locks up in this way that you're like, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need anything. I'll just listen to some Beatle records and, I'm good, and now we have so much coming at us from so many different directions all fucking day, all fucking night. We're looking at our phones.
Saturation.
We have texts, tweets, posts, comments, emails, coming in at such a rapid rate. I mean, not to be that guy, but I miss the old days when I didn't have a cell phone and I could, but because I do.
Where you could bike to 7-Eleven and steal a Milky Way in peace. You know what I mean?
Right. Did you shoplift as a kid?
Oh yeah, dude. I was oh my God. I stole so fucking much. And I was drinking at the time. I didn't even know. I was talking about it the other day. Like I didn't even know, I could use this skill to get myself really obliterated on drugs and die in the streets. Right. But like I was
good thing.
It's good. I stole diet pills not because I
wanted them, or
not because I didn't know that, if I take this it's going to make me high and then I can like OD. But I didn't know that. But like I stole diet pills literally because I had also stolen Reese's Pieces. So I wanted to lose weight, but still, or no, Reese's peanut butter cups. So it's like that's the level
like a fat kid speedball.
That's
right there.
The level of alcoholic that I am. So, but all the fucking time between the ages of I remember I stole once at like 6 or 7, got caught, and it was like candy or whatever. Got caught. I remember giving the candy back. My mom, taking me back and like, you got, say you're sorry and blah, blah, blah. So I remember that. But I also remember years later when I really started to do it was like 12, I'd say 12 or 13. And I started getting really,
I started getting good at it.
Really good at stealing. And I stole a lot for years. I remember I kind of prided myself on it. One time I stole a pack of cigarettes from my brother because those were the times where the cigarettes weren't always behind the counter. Yeah. They were sometimes, I think it was a Long's or a Safeway in Saratoga. And I stole cigarettes, and it just felt, and that was my first cigarette, and, oh yeah, I stole a lot. What about you?
Yeah, I had a girlfriend in high school who was like the first really bad influence on me. In fact, my mother would always refer to her as being the one that made me a liar.
She's your Yoko.
Oh, dude,
the catch-all. When it was really your fault.
I lost my virginity to her, and it was actually a pretty good relationship. I mean, as far as that stuff goes, she was a freshman at Northwestern, and I was a senior in high school, and so I was just like getting in all sorts of trouble. And at the time, I mowed lawns since I was 11 years old. I always had a job from the time I was 11 because I would mow 2 or 3 lawns every weekend, take that money, get on my bike, ride straight to Sam Goody and buy hair metal cassettes, because that was my thing.
I saw you posted that goddamn picture of,
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
No, the other one.
Skid Row, Slave to the Grind.
Skid Row, Slave to the Grind. Holy shit.
For your listeners who aren't friends of mine on Facebook, I had a gig in Reno on Saturday. Right. And, Sunday was my only day off, and the hotel that the client they had reserved for us was like 25 minutes in the opposite direction, and the gig was over at 10 or 10:30, and I was like, I'm just going to tear down my gear and just power home. I'd rather get home at 2:30 in the morning and sleep next to Sivan and wake up in my own bed.
Right.
So, but it was a long day. I mean, driving to Reno is a 4-hour drive, and so I drove there, set up all the gear, ran the gig, smashed the show. The band was fantastic, and drove home. And about 2 hours into the drive, the podcasts that I listened to weren't doing it. Mm-hmm. I switched to Sirius, and I was listening to Howard, and I wasn't interested in those replays. I was like, this isn't doing it either. I was like, maybe I'll put on a Fish show. I'm like, nah, that's not where I'm feeling right either. I'm like, what is going to keep me awake right now? So I went to my guiltiest pleasure,
right,
which is hair metal from the early 90s, because I was 11 and 12 years old.
Right.
Those guys were deities to me.
Right.
And I put on Skid Row's Slave to the Grind album and screamed like a banshee from Vacaville all the way home.
Because first question on Bill and Ted's, there's got to be a Faith No More epic on there somewhere. Is there a Faith No More song on there somewhere?
So I had that album too.
Okay.
I mowed lawns to that album as well. Mike Patton's super important to me too. I don't think so. The soundtrack that I was listening to was Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, the second one, which had
I've seen neither of them. So
really,
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Well, hey, you're not really missing that much. Okay. They don't. I'm sure they don't.
They're
really
excited to make a third one, though. They're making a third one. It's officially on.
Let's be real. Alex Winters needs a paycheck somewhere, doesn't he? You know,
that's like when they did Clerks 2. Neither one of those guys was doing very much. Anyway,
but Dante needed to make some money. I think.
Yes, he certainly did.
Anyway, so that record had, let's see, Slaughter, Kiss, Steve Vai.
No, not Yngwie too.
Actually, that record was my introduction to Primus. My introduction to Primus and Tom Waits, because Tommy the Cat, is on that. In fact, Primus is in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey playing Tommy the Cat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like 1991.
God, that must have been such a fucking
weird
intense time, dude.
Weird time, you know?
Holy shit.
Hair metal going down, grunge coming up.
Right.
You know? Because that's how the pendulum swings.
Right. And God, that's why I feel like epic. I know it wasn't, but that's why I feel like that's such a Faith No More epic time. You know what I mean? Because like wearing a sweatshirt around your waist with shorts was still like, that was the thing. You know what I mean? Like
Mike Patton, I'll never forget that video. I'll never forget. The Falling to Pieces video is really, really great too. Anyway. I don't know what direction I was going with this about hair metal.
What else is on the album? Yeah, you were listening to that to keep you awake.
I'm telling you, for anyone who has like long drives, go to your guiltiest pleasure. Go to your guiltiest pleasure. Spotify is the devil, but it's also really amazing because you can pull up albums from bands that haven't existed for 25 years, and of course their shit's there.
Right.
You know, I mean, so yeah, there was another direction we were going with this that made me bring up listening to Skid Row and Bill and Ted's mowing lawns, buying records.
You had a job.
Oh, shoplifting.
Yes.
Shoplifting. So at the time, my first like jobby job was at Old Navy. All right. I worked at Old Navy when I was 15 and 16.
As a model, as one of the plastic models.
Yes, as and folding things when I wasn't modeling.
Right.
And I was dating the girl who was the horrible influence on me, and she was a kleptomaniac, and she was good at it. She was really good at it.
That's hot.
And she taught me. She basically waltzed into that Old Navy when I was working, and basically ransacked the place via the dressing room.
Right.
And I was like, this chick is so hot.
Right. I'm imagining a Fairuza Balk type of character.
Sure. Let's go with that. She actually, I'll give you a way to she was actually Liv Tyler in Empire Records.
Yeah, okay.
That's exactly who she was. She was incredibly talented, artistic, little kooky, very sentimental, very very nurturing, but also kind of out there.
Right.
That was who she was at the time. I have no idea where she is now. Actually, she's responsible for turning me on to Fish because she made a mixtape for me.
Okay.
But made the most like chick-friendly mixtape, where none of the jams or any of the incredible compositions were even on that tape. I had to find it for myself and go, what the fuck have you been hiding from me?
Right.
That's besides the point. So she taught me how to shoplift.
Okay.
I quit the Old Navy. I gave a notice at the Old Navy. And this was the reason. When my manager asked me, why are you leaving here? I said, I found another job in the mall. I can't take the music that plays here. because I couldn't.
No, that's
the music at an Old Navy.
It's such a. I used to work at Cheesecake Factory. Oh. Those motherfuckers. For a year, I worked there, and it's just the worst poppy shit. But the problem is that I can't. I'm not the type of person who can
turn it off.
I
can't either.
I can't even fuck to music. I don't want to fuck to music. It distracts me. I don't want to watch something else. I'm you know. And so, yeah, it was
horrible.
I relate to that.
It was horrible, and the manager. I remember the manager kind of laughing, kind of smirking. I'm like, no, I'm dead serious. I can't work here because of the music. Right. Got a job at Suncoast Motion Picture Company in the mall.
Okay,
you know what that is?
They
sold VHS tapes. They sold movies.
Wow. Okay.
And that's when I turned into basically Scarface.
High Fidelity? Or like, did you turn onto the Jack Black from High Fidelity characters?
Kind of. I mean, I worked with those guys.
Okay.
But I'm talking like this girl taught me how to steal in a way that I had by the time I left for college, I had a trunk full of VHS tapes. Like we're talking like, you want a Bruce Lee film? I have them all. Because I would make bags behind the counter, and then she'd come in and take the bags out. It was horrible.
I helped put Warehouse out of business, with how many, because they had the used CDs, didn't even have any plastic on them or whatever. Remember those back in, like 99, 2000, they all had the plastic around them that were like, made them like that.
Oh my God.
So that was hard, but I stole a lot of CDs from Barnes & Noble because you could scrape off the little sticker that would go ding, 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 ding.
That's ballsy because that's super corporate place. That's ballsy.
Amazing. I never got caught for that. I still owe money to Barnes & Noble for that, and Warehouse too, but I don't know, whatever. But anyway, and with Warehouse, you could just take the CD out of the case and just slide the, whatever. So I remember having a giant fucking CD case, with page after page after page of stolen shit. You know what I mean? And I think when I got shipped away, my mom probably got rid of that shit. But yeah, that was a lot of them.
Do you remember the last time you stole anything? Because I do.
Kind of. It's a bit of a gray area. I was helping this guy get into a detox, and I was very broke, and I was maybe 20, maybe just turned 21, and he left and didn't call me back. And so but I looked through, I was moving to Portland, and I had a bag of his shit in my trunk, and I was looking through the bag, and there was $10 in there, so I took the $10.
Oh. All right,
but that was probably not a good idea. I paid him back.
That's interest on you lugging his shit around.
But as far as like straight up stole something, I don't. It was all a blur, really.
I remember very vividly because that same girl that taught me how to steal. This was all in the course of that relationship.
Okay,
because I tried to steal from the library and got caught.
It can't be hard.
I don't think
it can't be hard to steal from the library.
I don't think I've ever told this story because it's so embarrassing. I don't think anyone knows this story. I don't think anyone knows this story.
June 7th, everybody. 7th. RBA Creative. You need to come see us.
Yeah. So the same girl, her family had this tradition of singing American Pie at their family reunions. Okay, I know. Older generations. She's like, oh, we always sing that song. It's amazing. We always love it.
19 minutes. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, and I wasn't familiar with the song. So I went to the library and I found the music to the song, and I tried to steal the music for American Pie. I ripped off the UPC on the back thinking that's what was going to set the alarm off, and there was another sensor on the inside of the music.
Oh, no.
They sat me down, and I just talked. I just talked, and they ended up like writing me some sort of like police warning, kind of like they checked my record, and I had nothing on my this day. I mean, there's nothing on my record, and I was so freaked out. I was so scared. I was so ashamed. I was like, "What am I doing?" All blinded by pussy. Stealing music from the library. Like, this is obviously way before the internet. Kids couldn't just get on Google and go to Ultimate Guitar tabs or whatever and just find it.
Right.
and there was no way to have you didn't have the recording. You didn't have the recording.
Mm-hmm.
God, we're dating ourselves. But yes. It's just the way it was. And I was so freaked out by all that happening that I've never stolen a thing ever again because it like. You know, like when you hurt someone's feelings and like you can eat in like the pit of your stomach,
right?
Like, oh man,
right. Right.
That stayed with me. That stayed, and and I never learned how to play American Pie, and I'm happy about that.
Yes, you should be happy about that.
But I'll never forget how freaked out I was about that whole ordeal. I'll have to look through the trunks and see if I wrote about that because I have journals when I was a kid too.
It didn't stop me.
Oh. All right.
I remember getting caught at 7-Eleven, and it was the 7-Eleven around from our house. Me and my little miscreant friends, we would try to get high and get drunk and, pick up cigarettes off the ground and smoke those. And
classy.
Oh my God, I'm classy. I would drink 40s of natural ice with my homeless friends across from La Marqueta. Anyway,
you can just say friends, because if you're drinking 40s of natural ice, you can just assume they're homeless.
With Ernie and whatever their government name was. So I remember getting caught when I was maybe a year and a half before I got sober, was 7-Eleven in Cupertino. And I remember going in there, and I had stolen from there fucking countless times. But I got caught, and, the Indian guy waved his finger at me and was very mad. I remember feeling so bad that night and feeling like, oh, my God, I'll never do that again. Now that I'm thinking about it, I went back the next day and I said I was sorry. I think I did apologize. And I remember telling myself I'm not going to do that ever again. And then I definitely stole many, 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 many times after that.
Well, I mean, this was before you got sober.
Right.
So you were clouded.
And then I think probably the close to last time, probably a month before I got sober, was I was in Rite Aid with Ernie, one of my homeless friends, and I remember that was the time I opened a pack of diet pills and I emptied them into my hoodie, those pockets where like it's all one arm, you can stick your arm, little papoose. Yeah. So I remember emptying most of the diet pills in there and film for a camera because I thought myself an artist.
Film, kids. Film. We used to have to buy film. All right? Then take that film to another place to have it developed into pictures.
Right. Stolen. I stole it, and then so I remember that, and it might have been a disposable camera too. But anyway, I had those, and then a pack of Reese's peanut butter cups, and then they caught me as I was leaving. The bell went, and I kept going, and I got around to as I was leaving.
Like you ran?
Not I ran because I was a big fat boy. But I remember walking out and seeing my homeless friend was waiting for me at the bench outside, and the guy caught me and took me back inside, and they took me into the back room and they said, "Do you have any more?" And no. Do you have any more? And I said, well, okay, a little bit more. Do you have any more? I was like, no, I don't have any. Blah, blah, blah. And then the cops came, put me in handcuffs, and turns out I did have more in my pocket because the people at Rite Aid weren't allowed to steal or search me.
Right.
So then what they did is I don't think they ever saw the pills. I think they just got the film and the Reese's peanut butter cups. But I remember this is the level of shithead.
Strange booty. These strange treasures. All right, we got here. We'll put them all. We got the diet pills. We got the Reese's peanut butter cup. We got the film. Here we are at the table of non sequiturs, ladies and gentlemen.
Right, exactly. Are you a fucking Paul Thomas Anderson movie? But and then they put me in handcuffs and the guy drove me home like a couple of blocks, and I remember him giving me a lecture about smoking weed, and I wasn't even high at the time, but I remember him lecturing me about smoking weed, and then getting in trouble with my dad later on. But that was I think that was close to the last time. I think maybe 2 weeks or maybe less than 2 months later, I got sent away and got sober. But
I mean, it's been 20-some years since I've shoplifted anything. It must be hard to do that now.
Yeah, cameras, a lot more sensors, a lot more. I was in Safeway actually last night, and there were a couple of high school girls that stole some shit. You know what happens too, and this is one of those things a lot of you white guilt kids need to get over. if a giant clan of black kids comes into your Safeway, yes, they are stealing. Don't get, it's not because they're black, but because that's no giant clans of white kids bomb a fucking Safeway
at the same time.
At the same time. We just don't do that. We steal in corporate ways,
that's
you know?
Called, that's called,
there's different ways, you know?
So that shit used to happen in Chicago 10 plus years ago. I don't know if it still happens, but what, do they call it wilding? Isn't that
something
what they call
like
it?
that? Yeah.
Where like 30, 40 African American kids would just run through places as a group and like tear through stuff, steal stuff. Like that was.
And
the
some
thing.
of them would. That's the thing, is that this poor Safeway. I remember I was arguing with a girlfriend in it was one of those like one of those talks where like the glass fogs up, and not in fun like fucking way, but because like you're just there for so long breathing,
right.
And it's just like she's saying something to me, and I'm realizing like I'm trying to pay attention to the conversation and whatever, but I'm also watching this fucking horde of kids go running into the Safeway, and some of them are walking slow, and some of them walking fast. Some of them are wearing big books, and they're just stealing bottles. They're stealing chips. They're stealing, and some of them are going slow. Those are the ones who are stealing probably more because they're not the ones going crazy, fast. And then they go somewhere else, and But like that shit does fucking happen. I mean, that's the they were doing that on BART. Remember a few years ago, there was something like that happened where a grip of fucking like 30 black kids, and the police report refused to say what any descriptors other than high schoolers, just to make sure that they couldn't be construed as racist. When you know who the fuck it was, but they jumped into a BART train, many of them holding the doors or whatever, and just robbed from a couple of people, and then left and all jumped over the fucking whatever, like. But the cops are so afraid of seeming racist that they won't even put any descriptions out of who the fuck did it. Like, be real. Yeah. Like I was saying, like I'm not saying that all black kids do it, but I'm saying that's a specifically black culture crime. White culture crime is much more like, beat your wife or corporate theft and shit. Like, but like the beef,
drunk driving.
Drunk driving's a big one. You can't be a pedophile and be black. I mean, obviously I know that's bullshit, but I'm just saying, like, the grand scheme of things, there's a lot of fucking white pedophiles out there, and you can't be a white teacher in between the ages of 25 and 39 and not fuck your students. There are every skinny white teacher is fucking her 14 to 17-year-old student. Anyway,
I'm with Howard Stern on all that, which is I'm not mad about it, and I'm just jealous.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, why did anyone fuck me when I was a high school kid?
Right. I don't remember if it was Bill Burr or Patrice or someone was like talking about how, why do we treat it differently when a female teacher has sex with a male student and a male teacher has sex with a female student? Because it is different. Yeah. That it's fucking different.
Debate of the ages right there. Right. That's the why can. Right. Why is it when women sleep with multiple people, they're sluts, and with men they're studs. Absolutely. That tide that's changing.
Right.
That's changing a lot.
One of the things. Good. This is a controversial thing. And then maybe we could take a little break.
Sure.
And I got to pee. But I was listening to a conversation Milo Yiannopoulos had with Jordan Peterson, because Milo's been coming back up in the news a little bit. He had a big breakdown for a while.
That guy's been off my radar since the whole Berkeley.
Right.
Which was such bullshit, man.
Right.
Those fucking. Anyway.
Right. That's white version of wilding, right?
Completely.
Is my dad
Antifa.
with my daddy's. I'm gonna get a coffee in the morning with my daddy's credit card, and then I'm gonna go, ruin a bunch of things,
right?
And throw things at a poor Starbucks,
and try to prevent someone from talking because they don't think the same way as I do.
Right. So poor Milo was talking yesterday about. One of the things that really crashed his career was when he was on Joe Rogan talking about being 14 and being sexually molested. I mean, it's molested, yes, by a 29-year-old priest. Now, here's the thing that got him in trouble. He said, number one, it happens more prevalently than you would think. Mm-hmm. And number two, he said that for himself, he was more a willing participant than a molestation thing. And he said that it happens
liked
more often. Now, here's the fucking truth that a lot of people don't want to fucking talk about. And I am not saying that homosexuals are molesters. That's not what I'm fucking saying, because I just said the opposite. Most of the time, it's a skinny white guy. No offense. Most of the time, it's sometimes a hefty brawny boy. Most of the time, it's a white guy with, creepy glasses and things. But anyway, here's the fucking truth, because I know a lot of gay men. I have been a fag hag since I was young.
I'm the closest thing to being gay without being gay.
There you go.
I was one of the only guys in the all-female dance troupe in high school.
Oh, that didn't get you any vagina, did it?
Are you kidding me?
Oh, yay! Yay! Anyway, we'll get to that.
Okay.
But I just want to put it out there. I know a lot of gay men who were very young, 14, 15, and had sex with older men and were willing participants. Now, I don't think it should be legal. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying just like we were just saying that a male victim when he's 14 to 16 to 17 having sex with an older female, that guy's not really a victim. Similar ways. Now, there's a difference between grooming and shitty and predatory stuff. I'm not saying that the guy should be absolved at all, that the older gentleman should be absolved. I'm saying I know people who, I even know female victims of molestation who were absolutely fucking straight up goddamn molested, who even while during the sexual act that they knew what was wrong, felt pleasure because it's happening in their bodies. I'm saying this is a gray area, and to fuck Milo on that is some hypocritical shit, man. It's just it's not taking a look at the complexity of human sexuality and the complexity of youngness and youth. I'm not saying, let me get it very fucking clear. I am not saying that the guys or even female teachers should be absolved of their illegal predatory bullshit behavior. But I'm saying what Milo said was not incorrect.
Yeah, and it's weird too, because with the Milo stuff, it's like I just felt like he's just being provocative, and he was just I think he was telling stories about his own experience, and because of that was something that people were able to go, oh good, we got him,
right,
and then yank him off of everything,
right.
Right. And that's was my big thing against the Antifa stuff in Berkeley when he was talking. Like, let the asshole talk.
Right.
Just let him be a fucking asshole.
Right.
You have the right to be a fucking asshole. Right. You're not. If you want to call what he's doing is hate speech, cool. What you're doing is hate action. I mean, you know.
We really cannot. I mean, the sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. That's legit. Right. I allow other people to affect me by their words or by a girl rejecting me or not getting the job that I want. If I react negatively, I am responsible. If you had a knife and stabbed me, I don't have a choice in reacting in taking that with stride, or like that's physical change.
Like,
to my body.
You are living your truth right now by stabbing me.
Right. You know what? I respect that brick in my face.
Yeah.
Like, there's a difference between action and speech, and we cannot go that far. I'm not saying I agree with everything the motherfucker says.
I don't agree with anything the guy says.
Right.
Nothing. But like the fact that you're giving him so much attention and you're,
trying to stop speech that's my big fucking, that's part of honestly, Milo and all that stuff happening made me, because of my growing up as a Frank Zappa fan and a fucking George Carlin fan, made me more interested in, okay, is this guy actually Satan? Mm-hmm. And then I started listening and I'm like, no, he's not. There's a couple of things I disagree with, a bunch of things I agree with.
Right.
But like, let me dig a little bit, and I don't want to take this motherfucker's speech away. Even shitty ass full on white supremacists like fucking Richard Spencer, I don't want to take his fucking speech away. The guy's pathetic. He's just a wet, smarmy, douchey little fucking guy. Like, I don't see that as a threat. Smarmy douchebag is a threat.
Watching him get punched in the face is pretty fun, though.
Oh, I've never seen that one.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was around the Charlottesville shit. I think it was around that day. He was like talking to someone, like to someone at the press, and someone just clocks him and runs away. It's just amazing, It's great, I'm like, right. but also you shouldn't do that, right, because it's, again, hate speech versus hate action. You're both wrong. It's like it's like anyone who's pro-life who wants to kill a doctor. You know, it's like, what are we doing here?
Right.
You know,
the principle must become more important than the personality. Otherwise, you don't believe in the principle at all.
Yeah.
I really believe that. Because I mean, it's easy to lean on this. Oh, that's a slippery slope argument, but it fucking like the pendulum swings so far left and right in time, you know what I mean? And in different, depending on the culture and depending on the music and I mean, in Iran in the 70s, it looked like fucking Berkeley, you know, woman doctors and chilling and all this, and it slides so far this way that, you know, that women can't show anything but their fucking eyes. And then the opposite happened in the swing in Berkeley, where it used to be free speech, and now it's swung so far one way that it's like shut down, hate speech, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So we have to keep the principle first. Don't punch nobody who didn't fucking do some shit to you.
Right.
Or isn't threatening. Let free speech happen unless they are inciting violence or calling for violence or something like that. And that even for shit that I disagree with. I don't like Kesha. I don't fucking like Lil Yachty. But do I need to stop them from going in the studio? No. I can have my platform where I make a song about shitty rappers. Yeah. And that's my right to do so. And it's my right to say, don't listen to him, but not say, take away his studio time or fucking, you know, stop it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
Kesha. I wrote a bad joke about Kesha once. It was along the lines of, remember when U2... when you woke up one morning and all of a sudden you had a U2 album on your phone you didn't want, you know, I was talking about how they're going to do that with Kesha's new album too, but instead you wake up with herpes.
Yay! Brought to you by Apple.
Yeah. Yeah, talk about like interesting stories. That whole thing with her and that producer and
oh yeah,
oh man, all that is just fucking craziness. And talk about he said, she said. Right. You know, anyway, it doesn't. Yeah. Ugh.
Right. Let's take a little break.
Take a breather.
All right.
We'll be back with more talk about shoplifting and drugs.
Right. We'll see you June 7th at RBA Create. We keep fucking. We're gonna keep fucking. I'm telling you, there's only a couple tickets left. You fucks. Make it fucking emphatically sure that you get there.
You want to go to that?
We'll be back. Hey, we're back. Hi. Thank you so much for doing the show, Jefferson. You're like, this is the 4th time you've done my show.
Is this really the 4th time? It's like the 14th time, I think. Oh, no, it's like the 4th time.
No, don't be silly. This is the 3rd.
Aren't they silly? Yeah.
I think this is your 4th time on the show, and I'm so happy.
It's like my so to be on the show.
Happy for you to be on the show.
Let's go.
It's special to me as a human.
Can we go to Coachella together? Let's go to Coachella.
God, no.
I want to go to Coachella. Coachella. Show everyone my hat I got for Coachella.
Have you ever been to one of the? Oh yeah, you're a festival fucking going guy, aren't you? You've been to Burning Man.
Fuck no, I've not been to Burning Man.
Don't get offended. You're a fan of Fish. It's not above. It's not crazy for me to assume.
Okay, so there probably aren't many Fish heads at Burning Man. I'll tell you why. Because Burning Man is a pretty big investment, right?
It didn't used to be.
Right, but Fish fans are going to go, why would I go do that when I can go see 4 Fish shows in different places?
Touché.
You know? By the way.
But that's just a week taken off instead of the 58 weeks of no life, no job type of. No thanks.
Yeah, but like at this point, most Fish only tours twice a year at the most.
Right.
And people aren't really making their entire life.
Is your mic on?
Check. Yeah.
Okay, it is. No, it is. All right, I'm sorry.
I actually have been talking. It's funny because I have a lot of friends who are full-on burners, whether or not they like to be called that.
Right, we don't care.
And I always say, like, listen, I love art. I love music.
Right.
I love drugs. I love sex. I love all those things. I'm still not going to Burning Man.
Right.
I'm still not going. Because a lot of my friends will say, when you're going to Burning Man with me, when you go to Burning Man.
Right.
Listen, like, I think it's great. I think everyone should have something like that for themselves. If it's a Control-Alt-Delete in your life and you look forward to it and you feel refreshed and you feel like you are getting, working stuff through and it's something you look forward to, that's amazing. Everyone should have that. Just like I've said before, that I wish everyone had a band. I wish everyone had their thing, If that's your thing, great. But it's like religion. Believe in the man in the moon. Don't care. Don't try to get me to buy a ticket on your rocket ship.
Right.
I'm not getting on,
Right.
The other thing too is like I'm not a big fan of camping.
Right.
And I don't
dirty,
think of
dusty pussies is not something I want. You know what I mean? Like,
also, like, if I'm going to have a week or 10 days, I don't want to have to think about where my water's coming from for all that time, too.
Right.
That just seems like a schlep to me. That's why I turned to an old Jewish man.
Right.
I'm like, that just seems like, it's like, why would I want to go skiing? You have to, like, get all the things and go to the top of the hill.
I've never seen it, but I've seen clips of it. But, like, you and I really should do the oh, hello.
Hello.
You and I are very much.
We're very much
that mixed with the Muppet, the old guys in the balcony.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. What's weird about it too, for me, the Burning Man thing is that not just the way it started and like the and how it's different now, like with Puff Daddy as an example, goes to fucking Burning Man. Already, if I was a Burning Man guy, I would feel like, oh, fuck that, it's not cool anymore. But also, I don't like the again, it feels, maybe this is just, again, my paranoia, but I don't like the whole idea of the weird kind of preachy, unpreachiness of it. The like, everyone's super free, but we're not. But also, everyone's not super free. But you can't do that, right? But you can't do that. The whole idea of a chick walking around topless for a week, like, and not at least saying that she's desperate for attention. That's what bothers me.
Yeah.
Like, call it what it is. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a prostitute, I'm all for fucking sexual freedom or whatever. Make your money, baby girl. But like, call it what it is. Don't say, actually, I'm a sex worker. Like, okay, yeah, but like, don't try to glom on this like respect. Don't try to glom on that you're not seeking attention by taking your tits out for a week. Like, you're taking your tits out, and you should. Don't get me wrong, but don't attach this morality to it. And you know what I mean? Like, don't make it weird when I look. You know what I mean? Like, because that's why you're doing it.
This.
That's why you're doing it, because you're 23 and woo, like, just go for it, but call it what it is.
You're kind of like tapping into something that I've debated with people before about like street musicians or like people performing on, not like what you do at like the Montgomery stop where
busking
you're like
or whatever,
busking. But like getting on a BART train and playing your shit like at me when I'm trying to get to work. I take issue with that. I'm like, go get a show, man. Go get a show. This is not the show. Don't shake me down for money because you're playing at me. Like, this doesn't work that way. Same thing with the guys who are dislocating their shoulders in front of me on the BART. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that is, to me, disturbing. It doesn't. I respect that you are putting time and effort into your craft.
It's a very difficult thing to do.
Very difficult thing to do. All the respect for that. But I don't know. I don't think of it this way. There's nothing worse than going to Dolores Park to chill out, to have the shirtless guy with an acoustic guitar sit down next to you. Get the fuck out of here. Everyone's like, but you're a musician. Don't you want to like jam with him? No, I don't want to jam with him.
Right.
In fact, if he wants to play in front of me, I want to let him know that he's playing that song wrong.
Right.
It doesn't go like that.
Right.
You're missing 3 chords in there.
In fact, there's only 2 strings on your guitar. That's one of the things that bothers me about buskers, is that often it's just homeless guys who don't have any talent and play the same song over and over and over.
Yeah.
And it's always about freedom. You know what I mean? Or, I don't practice Santeria. Like, I get it. You're stuck in 97.
You don't practice anything.
But, like, I fucking, like... it's not that. That was one of really a shock to me. And obviously, I don't play often, which is why June 7th, you cocksuckers. I don't play a lot of shows.
June 7th.
Where like I do mostly originals, because I just don't want to spend the emailing time, to go through it and put a lineup together, go do the show, and then walk away with negative $40 because of all the time and energy, and more than 40 of doing all that. At this point, for the last 2 years, it's been almost all wine bar gigs and food truck gigs of times, and I've gotten better. It's been great, and I've had a lot of fun, but I've also made a lot of money, and I needed to do that, right? And all of it's gone, by the way, on the album.
A great album, though.
Thank you, sir. But when I first started looking at doing shows, I was surprised by how easy it was. And maybe that's just because Brainwash Cafe was around. But like, you could email, here's a YouTube link and here's what I want to do. And as long as you showed up on time and got back to them and warned them or were upfront about timing and about who you have on the show, like just pick a time on the calendar. And once you have that gig down, which was already kind of easy, now you have the ability to go, I've played at Brainwash Cafe. Here's, feel free to reach out to them. Now they have reference. They have YouTube videos of you performing. They have SoundCloud clips, whatever. Yeah. You're going to get shows. You don't need to go. I mean, busking was great because I could make money, and it was a great way to network. That's why I'm doing the podcast. Yeah. That's why I've done weddings. And one time because someone listened to me at Montgomery Station, I drove out to the middle of California and made $600, $700 for a couple of hours, and that's great.
That's why I always say that every time you play, it's an audition for something else.
Right. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know how easy it was to just get a fucking show. And a lot of the people who, I think it's similar to people hiding behind, no, I just do this for the art. I'm an amazing producer or amazing musician, but I don't want to get paid for it. I don't want to do a show. It's fear masked as, you know what I mean? Yeah, just like it's cheapness masked as I'm an artist, going the other way.
It's the same kind of weird self-psychology where it's like, well, I need to work out so that I can feel better about my body so that I can then go to the gym.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as far as like, some people have a really hard time getting shows, in bigger places because now
the bigger places is one thing, but
it's become more about like how many Twitter followers you have and how many Facebook likes do you have, and all that, which is why I like to play small shows for people who want to be there. June 7th, Friday,
at RBA Collective,
June 7th,
Creative. You need to get your tickets now. I'm not fucking around.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking around.
Get them.
These are going to be only the 2 times that I say I'm not fucking around. June 7th and August 17th. Yes. Outside of that, don't come to a fucking show, kids. I don't give a fuck. I get paid either way, bitch.
Yeah.
But like, you're coming to June 7th in Oakland and August 17th.
And we're not even going to take that much of your time too. The whole thing's going to be 2 hours, really. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's not like we're going to hold you hostage all night long.
Right.
Like we're going to leave you wanting more.
Right. And then you can always, invite us out and
there's going to be an after party already.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There's an after party right around the corner.
Oh, interesting.
So there's a couple people who are coming, and they asked me, like, is it okay if we ask everyone if they want to come back to our place? I'm like, sure.
Can I stick my dick in the mashed potatoes? That's if I knew it was that kind of party, I'd just stuck my dick in the mashed potatoes.
Well, Crystal probably makes really good mashed potatoes, so I wouldn't defile them that way. I'd better put off eating them.
Okay.
But
if my dick is already in there and someone happens upon it, like the old trope of a hole in the bottom of the popcorn box, you know what I mean? Oh my! Remember Catholic girls?
Catholic girls.
Vinny Colaiuta.
Vinny Colaiuta. Vinny body booty all the way. That's right, all the way.
That's right, all the way.
Whenever their mamas take them to a show. Frank was such a shit, man. I love that fucking guy.
With a tiny little mustache.
Kind of young, kind of wild. Oh, my God.
Frank is the best.
I had that. What was that? The biggest Frank Zappa album that was incredibly influential to me and has stayed so is Roxy and Elsewhere.
Yeah.
The live stuff, although he did a lot of editing on the live stuff.
I think I have that.
You have a fucking record of it? You piece of shit.
It'll probably take me 10 seconds to find it.
Okay. And then the second one was Have I Offended Someone, which was a compilation.
Yeah, it was like a greatest hits. That was a good one because it had...
Oh, well, there's Mothers.
There's Overnight Sensation.
Beautiful.
Which means Roxy and Elsewhere is probably... Oh, there's Bobby McFerrin.
Oh, that's nice. Have you ever seen the video? As far as recommendations, go see the video of Bobby McFerrin and Maria João Bobby does these shows, these improvisation shows, I think, where he'll just like take off his shoes and like do vocal improvisations with different artists. Oh my God.
There it is.
Oh, look at that fucking thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's only I'm sure it was like pressed in 1990 or something. So
no, this is the original pressing, I think. This is from 1974.
Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
What's that guy's name again? Napoleon No,
that's
not Napoleon Murphy
George Duke.
George Duke, right. I picked up one of his albums once. I think from the library or from Warehouse. I stole one of his CDs and listened to it. I was like, this isn't Frank Zappa.
Well, yeah, because it's more like fusion jazz kind of stuff.
Right.
But George Duke was up. That's Napoleon right there, the sax player.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he still tours. Oh yeah, did you go see are you interested in seeing the
hologram? Fuck a hologram. Get the fuck out of here.
But it has a bunch of the musicians on it, doesn't it? It has a bunch of it's similar to
we gotten to the point where we don't want to support artists? We're so happy with the artists that came before us. So we're like, we'll just go see. We'll just go.
Valid.
I mean, the most recent one, this just came in the news, I think, in the past week and a half, is that Whitney Houston now. There's going to be a Whitney Houston hologram. You know what's the saddest part of that is Whitney Houston's last tour. Oh, my God. If you ever heard or seen any YouTube clips from Whitney's last tour.
Oh, no.
Dude, it was horrid.
Oh, no.
And, like, it was funny, too, because, like, I remember seeing a clip of her singing I Will Always Love You, and she can't hit that note.
Right.
And she's, like, super flat. And you hear people in the audience going, oh.
Yeah. What did you think of Zappa Plays Zappa? Did you ever go?
Zappa Plays Zappa is incredible.
Okay.
Because that's musicians on stage playing his music. That's Dweezil playing verbatim every note that Frank was playing. They're not a fucking hologram, you know?
Well, Zappa by himself is the hologram, but I guess there's other musicians, you know, Napoleon and other
who
guys
are what,
on
playing to like a track of the exact things that are happening so that it matches up with imaginary shrinky-dink Frank on stage.
Right.
Like, think of it this way. What would Frank Zappa say about a Frank Zappa hologram?
Well, yeah.
He'd be really upset about that, you know?
It's the dangerous slippery slope. It's a dangerous thing to start thinking about what would this dead person think about this, you know, though. We don't technically know. I know that I honestly, just from an outsider's perspective who knows nothing about any of them, I trust Dweezil's intuition more than I would trust Diva.
And Dweezil's one being like, fuck this shit. Right. Come see the band playing the real music. Right. You know? And that's why, like, I will support Dweezil any way I can. I will see him every time he comes to town. The Prime Cuts tour that we saw recently, probably about, I don't know, when was that? Was that last December? Time all blurs together. It was absolutely incredible.
Okay.
Absolutely incredible. The musicians that he has playing with him right now are assassins, man. They are so good, and the show is so rehearsed and tight that it's dumbfounding watching them play this music.
Okay.
The hologram thing is a cash grab for the other part of the family that's going, how do we perpetuate the money coming in, you know? Because no one's buying records. So even the fact that they're still releasing all this stuff.
15 years ago, it was like Rhino Records. Like, who's really going to...
Rhino Records has, I think they own the rights to, I think, most of Zappa's stuff. But they're still reissuing stuff on Spotify, which is cool. Because, like, Sivan and I are junkies for Zappa stuff. So we're like, ooh, we don't know what this is. What is this? But like any other musician who has that much material, and I think I've said this before about Tom Waits and about Bob Dylan, you have to get through a lot of crappy stuff to find the really good stuff, you know? And he was so prolific that there's so much material that it's like, where do you even fucking begin, you know? And
he intentionally did that. That's one of those things too, is that the asshole intentionally made different, like he would make a hand gesture to the band and they'd start playing it in reggae or start playing it in like, you know, upbeat, like, yeah, he gave a fuck, man. Really, real, ruthless musicians, dude. He really gave a shit. And I
mean, that's the thing. Is like, and it's the same thing with Hollywood right now. It's like, do we really need a live-action version of Aladdin?
Yeah.
Do we need that? Yeah, because Robin Williams did a shitty job as the genie.
Right.
Get the fuck out of here. We need Will Smith now to do the same thing. Like, it's just, we need new stories. We need new stories. So
but from the only thing that's going to make that possible is making different. Remember the interview he did? Zappa actually did this interview where he talked about the difference in the way what happened to the music industry in the 60s versus in the 80s when he was, or early 90s when he was doing that interview. Did you ever see that one?
No.
So he talked about how back in the 60s, the record executives were fat cats who didn't know no better. Yeah. They listened to Sinatra at newest. Yeah. You know what I mean? And all they would, and they would like, okay, this A&R guy says that this is good. Fine. They'd take a chance. They'd take a chance on new experimental music. Right. New experimental music was made, and it reached the audience that it needed to. Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention is a perfect example of that, where they were just going off, and people really clicked into it, and they were hungry for that. But then what happened is that those executives, they wanted, okay, well, how do we recreate this? We need a hippie. So get one of those hippies, bring him in here to mop the floor and get us sandwiches, and tell us what he thinks about a record that we just recorded. So the hippie would be there mopping floors, whatever. Give it 10, 15 years, 20 years, the record executive is now that hippie who's grown up and who still thinks he knows what the public wants. Yeah. He still thinks he's connected. He's not an old fat cat. He's still connected. And so he deems what's appropriate for the audience to listen to and what's appropriate, the way things should be packaged. Same thing with movies. The way things should be packaged has changed. The fact that fucking trailers are exactly the fucking movie. Yeah. I remember watching, what was I watching recently? Someone posted the original preview to Mortal Kombat. Horrible movie. Don't get me wrong.
Wait a minute. A new Mortal Kombat or the original?
The original, back from the 90s, like 94. Wow. They didn't say shit about the story. They said, like, someone comes back and needs to defend the blah, blah, blah. They didn't go line by line. They gave you some teasers. They gave you some cool visuals. They gave you some good lines. Yeah. And they kept the suspense in there. Instead of showing exactly what the story is at every turn to get you all. Like, the way it's been packaged is all these fucking fat cats who think they know, and really it's not even fat cats anymore. Fat cats has the money, but now it's like a trendsetter, an influencer who's a fucking skinny white girl who's 38 at oldest, and she's gonna tell us what because she's still connected. Like I fucking refuse to believe that bitch knows what the fuck, you know what I mean? Because there's so much that isn't connected. There's so much that.
And it's all subjective, right? Because it's like, I'm the last person to be hyped by anything. If you tell me at a concert to put my hands in the air and wave them like that, I don't care. Well, you're half right because I don't care. All right.
Is that a line from a song of yours?
No,
it should be.
Okay, so yeah, put your hands in the air now. Please put them down. That's obnoxious. Mm-hmm. Please respect the people behind you.
Right. Also, I know there are short girls in here. Please come up to the front because
I can't be hyped. I really can't be hyped because I am really critical, and I'm my eyes are just kind of like squinted, like come on, right. Until I see something that goes, ooh, this person's really good. This person has a lot of talent. This person has put a lot of time in their instrument. Right. But the culture that's been kind of groomed to this point, it's all it's instant gratification, you know, and it's EDM and it's hip hop. Right. And the problem is the songs aren't going to stick around. Right. You think about big songs from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and even some songs from the 90s are now timeless. Mm-hmm. You can play a Stevie Wonder tune, and it is just as good as it was 50 years ago. Mm-hmm. It's because the song's good, you know, and I just don't see, or at least I'm not exposed to as much really good songs. And I think that is the biggest difference for me as a music consumer, is that I want to hear good songs, and being in the wedding industry and fronting bands and doing all that, like we have to watch trends and we have to see what's hitting and what isn't, and it's still coming down to the same 40, 50 songs. Right. I mean, give me a song from the last 5 years that has staying power. I mean, what, Get Lucky? Right. You know?
And even that song, that one bothers me. You know what bothers me worse is the fucking Uptown Funk. Yeah. Bruno Mars is just taking all of Zapp and Roger, all of that '90s funk, just like will.i.am did 15 years ago. With taking all those '80s hits and making believe for a bunch of new kids who don't know. I wonder if I take you home, will you still be in love, baby? Because I need you tonight. You know what I mean? Like that same thing and just rehashing it and just hear it. This is new.
We need new stories, you know, and that's the thing. It's like. I'm trying to think of modern artists that I'm really, you know, inspired by, and I mean, there are some, but I don't. But then again, I feel like I'm not really tapped into it as much as, you know, some people are. But then again, there's so much. There's so There's just too much. And back when there was A&R and record companies, they were like the gatekeepers of what was put out there, and the radio was the only place to hear anything. Now we have so many different places to hear music and to find music that it's overwhelming. And at the end of the day, you just want a chocolate chip cookie. Right. You know? You just want a chocolate chip cookie.
Maybe it's time for me to just settle down and get it. There are a lot of musicians, some of them good, who stopped making music altogether. You know what I mean? Who stopped writing and stopped and just, I'm sure you know one or two who just gave up. You know what I mean?
Oh, like contemporaries?
Yeah. Ones that we know here now.
Yeah. Yeah, there are some. And
were they good though? Is it me maybe just romanticizing that idea? It's hard to gauge
who's to say, you know? I mean,
because I'd like romantically to say, well, the reason why we've stuck around is because we're good.
Well, I mean, sticking around to what, you know?
Right.
I'm playing house concerts.
Right.
You know? But at the same time, we have different goals, though. Like, for me personally, I want to be a successful local musician. I don't want to tour that much. I wanted to have a lifestyle where I am paid to go out and play, and I have room to be creative and do the weird things that I write songs about.
Right.
And teach. I always want to teach one day of the week because music is a language, and it's a dying language. It is, especially considering, Fender and Gibson guitars are having a lot of trouble right now, and Guitar Center's verging on bankrupt because no one wants to buy guitars because they just want to buy DJ gear and push buttons. Music is a dying language, so I always want to be able to teach that. But for me, like what my idea of success is being able to create and perform and educate and still have bandwidth for my own life at the same time.
Right.
And take a vacation and hang out with Sivan and,
And for me, my goal is to fucking rule the world.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I will.
I want to have the ability to reach out to Beck or Bjork at a drop of a hat and get something started.
Cool.
I want to not just support myself, but also, tell Colin Quinn, here's a couple million, do whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? And just like, if I get investment back, rock and roll. But like, that's to be able to support myself and be known that I can, whatever I put out. Because, I'm not bad. Like, I know I'm pretty good at music and the stupid shit that I do. So I might as well, get it out to as many people as I can.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It'd be great to have an audience that's and a reach. And that is one thing that is helpful about the world that we're creating music in now, is that there are different ways of getting music to people, and that I can write an inappropriate song that if I post it the right way, or if it's shared the right way, it could reach people on the other side of the country who might go, hey, we like what you do. That is something that we've never had before, that kind of ability to connect with people from all over the world. But I don't know, my own insecurities. It's a constant battle for me to go, well, it doesn't matter. No, it does matter. No, it doesn't matter. Yes, it does. No,
where is the it doesn't matter come from? Is it the insecurity of like, I don't want to shoot high because I don't want it?
I'll be totally honest, man. The insecurity of it doesn't matter to me comes from me not caring that much about a lot of other musicians and artists and people. There, I said it. It's because I don't care.
Pick it apart a little bit. What do you mean?
If I don't care, why would anyone else care?
I see. Okay.
You know, and that's something that I definitely struggle with, because part of me is very defiant about that, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna write this song about whatever and say whatever, and then the other part of me is like, no one's gonna care, no one's gonna listen to this, it doesn't even matter, you know. So, you know, there are people that I do care about and want to succeed and want to watch them flourish, but at the same time, there's a lot of musicians out there that I know who are doing things that I just don't give any fucks about, and you know, and because I don't give that, I don't care. I just figure that there's that many people out there who don't care as well about what anything I'm doing. So, so I have this kind of like, well, what's the point kind of attitude a lot of times.
Right.
It's a love-hate thing, because I love performing, I love writing, I love doing all this stuff, but at the end of the day, it's like, why am I doing this?
Well, here's what's interesting, and we should probably start wrapping up a little bit. But what happened for me, as far as George Carlin or Frank Zappa, is I got sold on the individual. And once I was sold on the individual, even though Zappa's doo-wop shit does nothing for me. Yeah. Right?
See, I like Ruben and the Jets.
I don't. It's not like it goes over my head. I just. But I would still, if Zappa was coming into town just doing that, I would still probably go see it. You know what I mean? Like, once I got sold on whoever it was, I didn't care. Yeah. You know, that, even Bowie, you know, you were talking about how your main Bowie pocket was
Hunky Dory through pinups or Diamond Dogs.
You wouldn't go Let's Dance? That's a pretty good fucking record.
Sure. For oversaturated 80s production.
Come on now, that's a fun fucking
Nope. I said on Facebook the other day when someone was asking me if I did Modern Love or something like that, and I was like, dude, the only 80s Bowie I know is from Labyrinth.
Oh, come on now. You remind me of the Babe.
What Babe?
Babe with the power.
The power of what?
The power of voodoo.
Hoodoo.
You what?
Remind me of the Babe. Dude, that was actually that movie, Labyrinth. It's like that, you know, when people when fucking assholes say that homosexuality is a choice. When people, you've heard that argument before, that Mike Pence thing.
Yeah.
That and who Judah Freelander so beautifully put, like, if Mike Pence says that homosexuality is a choice, I'm really curious as when he chose heterosexuality.
Right.
And I remember being like 7 or 8 years old and seeing Labyrinth and going, oh my God, Jennifer Connelly is so pretty.
Right.
She's so pretty.
Right.
Ew, that guy's package. Ew.
Right.
I can see his penis. Ew.
I saw my baby.
Ew. It's weird. I don't like it.
Throwing a baby in the air. That's
dude,
that's
slap
fucking cool,
that baby,
dude.
set it free. Those are words of the song.
Slap that baby, make it free.
Make it free.
Yeah, slap that baby, make it free. That's the weirdest.
Dude, that's...
Anyway.
Yeah. There's a new Dark Crystal coming out, by the way. Did you hear anything about that?
No, I've never seen the first one.
Woo!
I don't know.
It is dark as fuck.
I've heard.
It's good, though. I think I might have it. I'll lend it to you.
Oh, Lord.
Do you have a DVD player?
No.
See, these are the questions I ask people when, as far as like, when people say that they're going to press CDs, I'm like, who has a CD player?
Okay, but...
Yeah, I know.
Hang on, but the CD... See, people do want the physical something.
They'll buy it because they want to support you, and they want to buy a momentum or a memento of seeing you.
The picture's going to be pretty great, too.
Cool.
I'll show you after we get off this. But
so I'm doing the math here, saying that Peter's pressing some CDs, I'm thinking.
August 17th, you fucking cocksucker. I will browbeat the fuck out of you. I swear to God. And if you cannot come because you're going to be in fucking Brazil, your ass needs to be on my fucking Patreon. I am not fucking around. I am not fucking around. Oh, I love your podcast. Show me the fucking money. Fuck you. Pay me.
Nothing brings people to a show more like the threat of physical violence, ladies and gentlemen. Come to the show. We'll inflict physical violence on you.
A lot of girls want me to. Anyway.
Well, yeah. Some guys pay extra for that, too.
That's true. That's true. I Yeah, I don't know. What were we? Oh, I was
gonna
just
offer you a DVD of The Dark Crystal.
Oh, right.
It's so good. It's a work. It's a masterpiece, dude. Jim Henson's one of my heroes.
Interesting.
Oh, one of my heroes.
Huh.
He was the first like celebrity death that like affected me.
Wow.
I was 10 years old, and I wrote this whole poem about Jim Henson dying, and the teacher liked it, and so she made this whole thing and put it up in the hallway.
Aww.
I think I might still have it. I should dig that up.
You should.
It's like 30. That was like almost 30 years ago.
Give it to your Patreon people, or a picture of it.
Oh, that would be something. Yeah. Oh, wow. I should find that. I think it's in there. I think it's in that trunk right there.
Interesting.
Wow. I haven't thought about that in a long time. So Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, Jennifer Connelly, and I knew I wasn't gay when I was 7 or 8 years old.
Awesome. I think for me, it was. I was just thinking about this the other day.
Like first crushes, like celebrity crushes.
Yeah, it was.
My other one was Alyssa Milano.
Okay, Who's the Boss territory.
Oh
Yeah. No, I can't think of it, but there was a number of them, and it was always like a weird. I can't remember what it was.
And then Christina Ricci
From Casper.
Well, I mean, from Addams Family Values.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay.
Dude, I had such a thing for Christina Ricci in
the dark
high.
broads. I can understand
yes,
that.
Brunettes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Brunettes. I love brunettes. Yeah. I do. I love them.
Yeah. Anyway, we should start.
We should probably wrap this up.
I'm very tired, everybody.
We covered a lot of ground today.
We did. There was on the
shoplifting.
There was shoplifting. Milo Yiannopoulos.
Burning Man. Bowie. The Beatles. John Lennon's a hypocrite.
Piece of shit.
What else did we talk about? We talked about
holograms.
Your homeless friend Ernie.
Right. I hope he's alive somewhere.
Do you really think he is?
No. No, I don't think so.
All right,
Him and
Ernie.
Mikey with the cowboy hat. I stole a peeing fetish magazine from Mikey once. I was like 15 at the time.
Wait a minute. They actually published peeing magazines?
This was 2000.
Can I just riff on what the title of that magazine's called?
Please.
Squirts?
I think it was Wet or something like that.
Trickle?
But I remember it was. All I remember, it did seem like 80s, like feathered hair. I think it might have been English or French.
I was gonna guess German
or maybe German.
Come on.
But that's a hard one to get a hold of.
Peeing on people.
But I didn't even
like,
know what it was until I just wanted to steal something because I was sick.
I think piss play is between second and third base in Germany.
We actually talked about me and Lil MC on the last episode. We talked about peeing on people. I just recorded that this morning. Oh my God!
You did another podcast this morning?
Yes.
Man, you're busy, boy. I'm so busy.
Give me money. Come June 7th.
June 7th. That's when this airs. This will be this
Creative.
Friday.
No, this episode airs Monday. The one we're doing now,
which is next Friday. Yes,
this Friday.
So this Friday,
as you're hearing this
Friday,
June 7th, you need to be at RBA Creative, and you can get the tickets by going to either one of our. Just search Jefferson, Bergey, Peter Feliciano. You'll find the tickets.
Brown paper tickets.
There's only 30 tickets. There's only not very many tickets left. And it's going to be 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. In Oakland, and
there's lots of parking,
snacks. Someone said that people are going to bring beers or something.
Yep, it's I'll be bringing some beers, and it's also BYOB. You can bring your own.
There you
booze.
go. Also, if you've been planning, if you did listen to any of my right-wing rants, and you did want to find a place to shoot me or set yourself on fire, that's the place to do it.
Right.
Give me a hug covered in petrol.
Let me give you a kerosene hug. Get close.
And I'll be and you can where can people find your stuff?
JeffersonBergey.com. You can find me on the Facebooks. Patreon.com. You can find me there. Need to get a little more active with that. I have some ideas for some things that are coming down the pipeline, including a holiday EP that I've already started recording. Nice. Which is going to be ridiculous.
Originals or covers?
Both.
All right. This is sexual.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You can support this podcast and my music at patreon.com/conservatish. You can find me on Instagram at Peter_Feliciano. You can email your titty pictures to conservatishpodcast@gmail.com.
Or Jefferson.Bergey@gmail.com.
Listen, God damn it. Send him
send him one tip. Send me the other.
The $100 nipples one. Send me the nice,
I said
ones.
Sometimes I just feel like a chocolate chip cookie. I did say that earlier.
And I love you all very much. The new episode every Monday and Thursday. We'll see you Friday.
June 7th.
June 7th.
Friday, June 7th.
I love you all very much. Bye.
I tolerate you. Bye.